Hi, and welcome to Code Tutorials. Today we'll take a look at the vertical project reel, one of the widgets from the Qi Addons for Elementor Premium plugin. With this widget, you can create a stunning page element that marries visuals and text while allowing for visitor interaction. In fact, the vertical project reel is intended to serve as a standalone page element. You can see that from the first example on this page. This particular example is a preview of a home page from the Qi theme where the vertical project reel is the only thing on the page. It's shown here in image form, but we'll be breaking it down in this tutorial. So, as you've seen, the vertical project reel lives up to its name as it includes vertical movement by scroll. And you can use it to create an exhaustive list of items or simply give your visitors a sneak peek at your work. Up to you. With all that said, let's see how it actually works. Head over to the back end. In the Elementor sidebar, search for vertical project reel. There it is. Drag it over to the right. And this is what the widget looks like by default. It has two items that we can scroll. We move down the images and the appropriate text appears with a fade-in animation for each image. Okay. Looking at the images, it's a bit hard to tell when they switch because the ones we have now are just placeholders. When we customize the items, the visual effect of the whole element will be much more striking. So let's do that. Click on an item to open its options. And the first thing we can do is replace the item title. That's this text here. I open the first item, so I'm customizing item 1. I'm going to replace the title now by typing over the placeholder text. Give me a moment to enter it. Okay, there. Then we have the item subtitle. That's this smaller text above. I'm going to replace that as well. Just a sec. Okay, here it is. And after that, we have the button text. That's this. I'll type over that too. Alright, that's the text portion of the content customized. Next, I can replace the item image using this field. That's this image. And when I hover over it, we can see it has a blur style hover effect by default. So first things first, I'll click here to choose my replacement image. As I already uploaded the one I want to my media library, I can just select it and insert media. And there it is. Also, when I hover, this is what it looks like now with a proper image instead of a placeholder. After the image, we have the item link field. This is where you can add a target URL where you want to send your visitors. I've added a hashtag as a placeholder which will make my item act linked. So now if I hover over the image, it seems clickable. And the link you set will be active over the image, the title and the button as well. Okay, with that, my first item is done. For the second one, and any subsequent ones as well, I can open it and go through its options as I did now, or I can duplicate it. Given that I'll be keeping some of the same things, I'll opt for duplication this time, which means I can delete the existing second item by clicking here. And then I'll click here to duplicate the first one. Then I can change only the things I want to be different. But since this involves going through the same options we've already covered, I'll skip ahead while I customize and duplicate several more items. Okay, here we are. I'm done with my items and this is what the reel looks like now. I replaced all the text and images and we can see how my scrolling moves the images while the appropriate text appears to accompany its image. Alright, once you're done with your items, you'll see the text animation option. The default animation effect for the text appearance is fade in. We can replace that with from right, which looks like this, or we can pick fade in raw, which looks like this. Let me also show you the fade in for the sake of comparison. This is what it looks like, so you can pick whichever of these you like best. However, for my design, I'll use fade in raw. Okay, the next section in the content options is for the button. This is where you can change certain button characteristics, such as its layout. I'm going to make mine textual. By the way, I'm not covering these options in detail as you get them with all the buttons in Qi Addons. So, if you'd like to see them covered in more detail, you can check out the pop-up link for our button tutorial. For now, I'll simply select what I need for my design and carry on. With the textual button, we also have the option to enable a button text underline. I'm going to switch it to yes to get a line under the text. There it is. And this is what my button looks like now. Following that, we have the button icon section, where we can select an icon that will be placed to the left or the right of the button text. You can choose something from the icon library or upload an SVG. I'll click here to upload an SVG icon. I already have the one I want in my media library, so I can select it and go to Insert Media. Alright, there we go. And that's mostly it for the Content tab options. The next section in line is the Developer Tools. This is an option you get with all of our widgets. If you switch it to yes, it will display the widget in the form of a WordPress shortcode, this text above, which you can easily copy for use elsewhere on your site. Alright, I'll switch this back. Under that, we have the Help section. It contains various helpful resources, including a link to our Help Center. That's all for the Content tab. Let's move on to the next one, Style. In the Style tab, we have all kinds of options we can use to adjust the look of our vertical project reel. The first section will help us tackle the item style. Here we have the title tag option. By default, it's set to H1, but I'll change mine to H2. Okay. Another option for the title lets us change its color. You can set any shade you like easily. The default setting works for me, so I'll be keeping it. After that, we have the title typography. It allows us to set things like the font family for the title. There are hundreds of fonts for you to choose from. As I know precisely which one I want, I'll search for it. Okay, that's the one. Following that, we have the size option, where we can adjust the title size. I'm going to set mine to 65 pixels. Perfect. After that, the weight option offers all these settings for adjusting the font weight. I'll make mine a touch lighter by picking 400. Then the transform option can be used to change the title to, say, uppercase. The style option is there to make the text, for example, italic if you want. The decoration lets us add a line under, over, or through the title text. And then we have the spacing options. The line height for creating more space over and under the title. I'll switch to using pixels and set 70 pixels as the value. Then we have the letter spacing option for spreading out the letters, and word spacing for creating more room between the words. That's all we have in the typography options. Following that, we have a set of settings that apply to the subtitle. The first is subtitle tag, which applies to this text here, our subtitle. You can keep the default H5 tag or pick one of the others to replace it. Then there's the subtitle color, where we can change the color of the subtitle text. And we have the subtitle typography too. When we open it, we can see it has all the same settings that we had under title typography. So I won't go into the explanation again, I'll simply use the settings I need. Those are font family. I want to change it, give me a sec to find the one I want. Then font size, I'll put 16 pixels for my subtitles. Then the weight will be 400 here as well. And I'll also change the line height by switching to pixels and setting 1 pixel. That's going to reduce the space here. And 1. Okay, there. Moving on, our next section is spacing item style. It contains options like the text left offset. By adjusting it, we can set how far from the left element edge the text content will be placed. I'll clear this to restore the default offset value. Then we have the title margin bottom option, which can be used to adjust this space here, between the title and the button. I'm going to put 44 pixels for that. Following that, we have the subtitle margin bottom. By changing it, we can change this space here, between the subtitle and the title. For that, I'll set 17 pixels. Next, we have two options for adjusting the display on smaller screens. The space between content and image responsive, and the space between items responsive options. With them, you can adjust how much space will be between the text and its image, as well as between the different items when the reel is viewed on other devices, such as tablets and mobile phones. To judge what's the best setting for you here, you should make the adjustment while considering how the element looks on those devices. This, as well as all the other widgets in the Qi Addons collection, are coded to be responsive, so they will look good on smaller screens even without you making any changes here. Okay, moving on to button style. The first thing we have here is the button typography. Again, if we take a look, we can see it contains all the same options that the other typography settings did. So let me make what adjustments I need and we'll carry on. I'll change the font family again. I'll set it to match the one I used for the subtitle. Okay, there. And I'll match the font size too, 17 pixels. Then I'll do something a bit different by transforming the button text to uppercase. And after that, I'll switch the line height to pixels and enter 22. There we go. This is what my button text looks like now. Okay. After that, we have two switches, normal and hover. Each reveals different settings. Normal helps us set the text color for the button when it's displayed normally. So if we change the color here, it will affect the text, the underline, and the icon as well. Okay. And if we switch over to the hover portion of the settings, we'll find the text hover color, which can help us set the color of the button on hover. We can see the difference in color when we hover over the button. Alright, that's it. Next, we have the button icon style section. The first option lets us change the size of the icon. I'll leave mine at 13 pixels. It looks good. Then we have another set of normal and hover switches. Under normal, we have the icon color option. With it, we can change the color solely for the icon and make it different from the button text. Okay, and under hover, we have the move icon option. It lets us pick what kind of effect we want the icon to have when we hover over it. The default setting is horizontal short, and this is what it looks like. We can switch it for plain horizontal, and that looks like this. There is also the vertical move effect, which acts like this. And there's diagonal that moves like this. Finally, we have none if we don't want any icon movement on hover. This is the one I'll be using for my reel. After that, we have the icon margin option. By increasing on all sides evenly, we can create more space around the icon. Alternatively, we can click here to delink the fields and then we can enter different values for different sides. Or in my case, enter only one value. Left, 9 pixels. There. The icon isn't glued to the button text anymore. Alright. Next, we have the button inner border style section. However, when I open it, we can see it's empty. This is because I'm not using the button type called with inner border. My button is textual, so this doesn't apply to me as I don't need options for styling something I'm not using. So I can carry on straight to the final section, which is the button underline style. I do have options here because I enable the button underline. If you open this and don't see any options here, that's because you aren't using a button underline. As far as the options go, we have another set of normal and hover switches here. Under normal, there's the underline color. It has the standard color picker, so it's easy to set whatever you like. Okay, when I hover, the line withdraws, but you can see it's changed. Then we have the underline width, or length if you prefer to think of it that way. So it doesn't have to be as long as whichever button text you set. Then we have the underline offset, which can move the underline closer to or further away from the button text. So if I set 7 pixels, we can see the line is cutting into the text a bit. Whereas if we set 1 or even a negative value, the line will drop away from the text. Next, we have the underline thickness, so we can make the line bolder if we want to. We can see it's much thicker now. Finally, we have the underline alignment option. If you shorten the line by setting a smaller underline width, you can now set the alignment of that shortened line. So you can put it on the left side below the text, on the right side, or in the middle. Okay, those were the normal display options. Let's take a look at the hover display options. In this section, we have a lot of the same options, only these show their effects on hover. So there's underline hover color, if we want to set a different color for the underline. If we look, okay, the line seems to vanish because the default underline hover width is 0. So let me increase that and make the line visible on hover. If we check now, the hover version of the underline is shorter, but it does show the changed color. And we also have the option of enabling the underline hover draw. By switching this to yes, we're going to add an animation effect that makes the line look like it's being drawn right now. And that's it. We saw the options underneath this when we were going through the options under normal. So I'll just clear all these settings I made, as I don't plan on having anything this different on hover. Okay, done. And that's actually it for the vertical project reel options. The last tab, Advanced, has several useful options for responsiveness, positioning, entrance animations, and more, but since it's available for all Elementor widgets and not unique to our vertical project reel widget, we won't be covering it in this tutorial. So my reel is done, and this is what it looks like. It's entirely customized, so it has all new images and text. The button is changed as well. The scroll smoothly goes through all the images and the appropriate text pops up for each one. So all the style and content changes I wanted to make are there. I completed the design I was going for, and I'm happy with how my element turned out. And that design is the one I got off of the widgets page and the key theme. If we examine the page again, the home page was sole element I chose to copy. By building the reel from scratch, we got to know its options and how to use them and potentially combine them. Ultimately, we hope you found this tutorial on the vertical project reel helpful, and that we managed to show you how easy it is to use and create stunning centerpiece elements with this widget. If you have any questions after watching this video, or comments or suggestions you'd like to make, please drop us a line in the comment section below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about any new tutorials and theme guides. Thank you for watching.